So much overcoming. The power that Christ had to overcome is ours on this day. So in a sense, we're celebrating Easter, but it's almost like our spiritual birthday also. So we all heard Reverend Arlene talk on Palm Sunday, where she called us to courage. And that could not be any more needed from me than on this day. And it's really my honor and privilege to share the Easter talk for today. And for today, I thought that I would share with you some of the Easter insights that I've received in these past few Holy Weeks, because Easter is a time for us to renew spiritually our consciousness and our connection with the divine. And so each year, Easter is renewed in us. So in that spirit, I thought I would share a few of the Easter insights that I had with you in reference to how we can celebrate Easter within the unity tradition, because it's very nice to be able to be a part of a community that honors the universal aspect of the Christ, regardless, throughout the whole planet. And it's really, really rare, and it's a beautiful thing. So I saw this comic strip the other day, and there was a little caterpillar on a leaf. And then in the next frame, the caterpillar was climbing out of the cocoon and had these big wings and said, "Oh God, I'm turning into my mother." And it made me laugh, and it really made me think of kind of what the Easter mystery is all about. That's like us. We're turning into Christ, right? That same divine pattern that stepped down from the heavenly highest spheres, the I am in the very beginning, stepped down to lift us up, right? And now as I look out here, I see this family, this of spiritual inheritance, no longer by blood, no longer by priesthood, nothing standing in the way between you and your direct connection with I am, with God, with the Spirit of love. And for me, I mean, that's the Easter mystery. The deed that happened over 2,000 years ago, it's a mystery because it's even more active now. It's even more active now. We react it. So with that joke of the butterfly, one of my Easter insights had to do with looking at the story and the mystery of Easter according to the butterfly, the gospel according to the butterfly, if you will. So when we look when we look at Easter and we look at the stages of the butterfly, if you remember Eric Carle's book, The Very Hungry Butterfly, I thought I'd point out some highlights of the parallel of the great narrator of the Easter experience as the butterfly. So the life cycle of a butterfly in this book is there's this little egg, and it hatches in the moonlight on a leaf, and then it gets really hungry, and so it starts eating all this fruit, good stuff, and then all of a sudden it starts eating like sausages, cupcakes, popsicles, like all the stuff that's not good for a caterpillar, and it gets a tummy ache. And then it eats a green leaf, and it soothes its tummy, and it makes it feel better. And then builds a little cocoon, and then it goes to sleep for a while. It rests. Looks like nothing at all is happening in there. And then all of a sudden, pop! Beautiful butterfly, right? We can see that in the caterpillar, that transformation, that metamorphosis. But for some reason, when it comes to humanity, when it comes to us, it's really hard for us to get past that, to see that things that seem like apparent death aren't permanent. So the butterfly, I think, really helps to remind us of the story of Jesus incarnating, of the Spirit of the High coming into human form. But when I'm speaking of that, I'm talking about consciousness, entering into the Christ consciousness. That seed, the butterfly, basically represents for us our soul, our consciousness, the stages that it goes through. So in Easter consciousness, we get to take another glimpse that the physical is actually a representation of spirit behind everything. Spirit behind everything. And so if we look at the stages, the egg stage, right? That's the Christ consciousness incarnating into us, that great star at Christmas that comes down, right? Streams, step down, and in John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Through him, everything entered existence, and without him, nothing entered into existence. What existed in him was life in him, and the life was the light of all mankind. He came down to us. We're the little eggs. Here we are. We have that in us, that divine seed pattern. And then we have the caterpillar stage. That's us journeying through life, that very hungry caterpillar eating everything up. Sometimes we eat stuff up we shouldn't be eating up, and it gives us tummy aches, right? And then we return back to spirit. We eat the good green leaf. Green leaf is actually good on multiple levels for everybody. And then we're able to actually use our physical bodies to devour life, to expand our consciousness, expand our hearts, expand our life. For the caterpillar, it's all those leaves they munch that they're going to use for their next stage of development. For us, it's looking at our life experiences and seeing how they can expand our consciousness, expand our hearts, expand our spirit. That's what we devour up. And then we have, this is the hard one. This is where we get stuck around Easter. I know I do. We have the chrysalis stage, the pupa stage, bless you, where we've taken all this life stuff and we get stuck in our little tombs. And the caterpillar, the pupa, they hang upside down on the tree. Sound like someone else that we know? They hang upside down on the tree. Everything on the outside makes you think that they're dead, but they're resting. They're resting. Their old life is gone. Because a crucifixion means that you have to sacrifice everything that you were before for your new identity. And a crucifixion does not necessarily mean death. It means giving up, sacrificing what you were to emerge as something new. So when we look at the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, he's also symbolically, metaphysically showing us that the old ways of the world are done. Descending into materiality, into looking at everything as purely physical is done. Because that's where the lie of death comes in. When you look at everything instead, that everything that we see is actually spirit, and there is no death, because we know there is no death of consciousness. Consciousness changes and grows and ever expands. That's the impulse of all of life. Every atom. To express life fully. That's God's will for us. That's God's will for the universe. So when we have to crucify aspects of ourselves that might be blocking that, we should celebrate that, because that means it preludes the renewal of us, of who we're here to be. So we get stuck on that crucifixion stage, right? But guess what? We get to reemerge. So we talked about the stone being rolled away in the tomb in the daily word today. So if you can think of the chrysalis and the stone, which metaphysically, according to Charles Fillmore, is the body being rolled away, it's a doorway. So then after the crucifixion, when we break through all of our limited thinking, constraints of time, just imagine what your life would be like if you knew you could never die. Chew on that leaf for a moment. Imagine if you could never die, if there's nothing that could destroy you. Maybe traffic wouldn't seem so bad. Maybe you wouldn't be so scared to call that person you've been wanting to call but are really afraid of. If there is nothing that can destroy you, don't you feel more empowered to share all of what you've been given? Sometimes we say, the James Dean idea, the carpe diem, seize the day, so that means we're going to do destructive things. No, that's not what I'm asking. Christ knew this. If you could live forever, maybe you might take a little bit more time to come down and open yourself up to people, because there's an eternity of time. There is no time. There's nothing that can get in the way of you expressing your Christhood, which is love. Easter is all about love. And we couldn't even earn it. It's just a part of us. So after the crucifixion, guess what we do? The butterfly comes out, doesn't even recognize itself. Our wings are our consciousness. Our wings are our ability to open our arms to each other and love each other. But it doesn't end there. They say there's 4 stages, but I want to bring up a point. The butterfly comes out. Mary goes to the tomb. Christ is not there. He's resurrected in spirit body because consciousness is united and reconciled to everything in the universe is him. There is no separation. When we think there's anything that can separate us from God, that's when we're stuck. So the butterfly stretches out its wings. The Christ shows us that there is no death. There's only transition. And we can fly. But the butterfly disperses life, right? We don't just witness this Easter event outside of us. We're called to continue it. What Christ started, it's not finished. We are the work, and we get to carry the seeds of his deed and of the love throughout the earth. We don't have to call it by any creed. We don't have to call it or claim it for anyone exclusively. Anything that starts to block you from feeling worthy enough to do this work, roll that stone away. Roll it away. And remember, sometimes when you're hanging upside down in a tree, you don't even realize. All you have to do is just rest and trust that God is around you. And that's when we'll really be able to carry this mystery of the Easter message with us. And today will be a way to mark this new season of celebration. We should be celebrating. And so to close my sharing on the gospel according to the butterfly, I really want you to take this idea. If you knew you were an eternal being, what would your life look like? And if you ever get lost, and you fall down 7 times, you get up 8, the Japanese say, right? To get up, you have to rise. And you have to look up. That means raise your consciousness up. Affirm, be grateful for all of the gifts that God is already showing you. And if you look up, you might just see a butterfly to remind you of all that you can be. So in closing, to celebrate Happy Easter, and that we too can rise, I thought that we would do a prayer. But since we can't sing, this is a prayer with our bodies. And this is Hallelujah. So you at home, if you have space, I invite you to stand. If you here feel comfortable standing, please stand. I'm going to put my microphone down. And we're going to, Hallelujah actually means he has risen. And that means, guess what? We can rise. And Reverend Arlene is rising too because she's on crutches today. So we're going to celebrate that. So we start with our hands on our hearts. And the mood of Easter is reverent. Reverence, wonder, and awe for this magnificent life that we get to see renewed each year. Start here. Open ourselves up to the wonder and awe that is God, that is in us. Ha! Ha! And we weave little L's, 1 little L, 2 little L's. We're weaving our web of light just like the butterfly. Feel your light, your heart opening. Keep going. Keep going. And now, hale. And now we create a path for spirit. You. Back into you. Hallelujah. And so it is.